There are 5 points that I believe represent at least a portion of the community and its perspective on why we politely think DICE should #save GA. First, let me explain what the movement is, or at least what it's based on. The BB update saw the Galactic Assault menu board switch transported over to the More section. This was sort of a straw to the camel's back type situation, which led to a lot of people voicing their opinions on what they saw as DICE leaving the mode to let's say linger, while they focus on new modes they've added, namely co-op and supremacy, with the focus seemingly being mostly on supremacy. The community, preferring GA, is none too pleased about this move, and I think I have some reasons why. Let me just preface this with saying that these are my observations and opinions, and other members are bound to have theirs, so please keep that in mind and seek out their opinions as well. Anyway, let's get started. The nature of these two competing modes of GA and supremacy are different. GA offers a linear feel and supremacy is more open-ended. I think GA's influence is greater within the game, and thus the people who love the entire game are more likely to prefer it and its nature. The influence of GA is all over the game and can be seen in Strike, Extraction, and even Starfighter Assault to a certain extent, with its objective gameplay. Ironically enough, the capital ship phase of supremacy feels, at least to me, like a mini GA. With this, it feels to the players that the meta is kind of built on top of GA. It feels as if DICE are dooming the mode by not updating it, or at least having it in their focus alongside all the other modes they've pushed since the start of 2019. It might feel like they're trying to tie it to the failed launch, considering it was the flagship mode during that period. As if they could rebrand the game into the old and new, with all the new, good and shiny additions eclipsing what must be, in their mind at least, the soiled, unrepresentative, old content. Ironic considering that the addition of Geonosis to Galactic Assault was part of the big push for the initial resurgence of this game. Since then, however, the new content and modes have brought bigger waves of resurgence, and people are scared that DICE would focus on what brought those movements instead of focusing on updating the core and initial content of this game. Galactic Assault is where the community and their playstyles were formed. In the early days, it and HVV were the game modes that forged this community. Even to this day, most of the background footage on Battlefront related content is of GA. This means that the large majority of players who stuck with this game in the early days would have formed their best memories in GA. They would have gotten comfortable over long periods of time in GA, and they would have developed an appreciation for all aspects of this game, primarily in this game mode. You can see the disappointment throughout the community. You could see it as soon as the update was released. It made players sad with their request to support GA month after month, seemingly never even considered. With this, however, comes solidarity, and many players may have just realized how much their love for this mode they actually share with their compatriots. Now, the update was pretty cool and well praised, therefore the disappointment wasn't the bulk of the conversation, but rather just around a third, with the other 2/3 being the addition of Supremacy to the Age of Resistance and the droids. However, the fact that this was a third added onto the conversation to begin with shows just how much the community cares about Galactic Assault. Look, new players, specifically newer to the game content creators, have shown their preferences, and the stats most likely support the push for supremacy content. That's probably the hard truth and why DICE is making these moves. DICE isn't cold to the community, but rather trying to be a warm, welcoming hub for new players. After all, who doesn't want to grow a game, especially one that's in the start of its 3rd year? Scarif is an indicator they are still very much listening to the community. But making it for supremacy shows their tactical nature of developing content to chase trends of the new players. And this is proving to be successful for them. Thus, it kind of feels like this game is having an identity crisis of sorts. And for people who might be entrenched on one side or the other, this is severely off-putting. In the end, what I can say is that we have a voice that the stats do not. We will be the ones here once they leave. Once it's time to start hyping up the new game, the core audience will be the ones doing it, and not the players who mostly don't assimilate into this community. The consensus among those who are veterans of this game is one of supporting GA. Sammy has a good video explaining why support for GA could actually work for DICE, and Twisted has a video explaining the community's desires, consensus, and precedents for activism. I would encourage anyone who feels strongly about #SaveGA to watch these videos. I'll put them down in the description, as well as make your own. Letting the devs know you care by making a noise and spreading a message, especially if you create one yourself, is probably the best way to get your point across.